Welcome to Rooted to Thrive, conversations to elevate our humanity. I'm your host, Rochelle Peterson-Ansari, Professor P for short. This is your podcast sanctuary for cultivating mindsets and skills to elevate our shared humanity. We're taking a deep dive into practical strategies to evolve as anti-racist, culturally competent, and inclusive individuals and leaders. In each episode, we're bringing you real-world examples and actionable takeaways. We're going to talk about personal growth, fostering connection, and creating positive change that dismantles systemic barriers and creates environments where all of us are valued, empowered, and activate our collective power. This is Rooted to Thrive. Hello. This is Rochelle Peterson-Ansari, aka Professor P, your host for today. And today I am having a conversation with Dr. Doreen Loury about navigating the current political climate, particularly with our sisters, Black women, in mind. But first, let me give you just some of Dr. Loury's receipts. Now retired from a 30-plus year career at Arcadia University, mostly as a professor in sociology and criminal justice department. She is the founder and founding executive director of Arcadia's Center for Anti-Racist Scholarship, Advocacy, and Action, I think affectionately called CASA. And she is currently the co-chair of the National Council of Negro Women's National Social Justice Committee. But listen, Dr. Loury and I have known each other for over 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I first met Dr. Loury at the Carol F.S. Hardy National Black Student Leadership Conference in the 90s,
Yes.
when we both had taken students there from different colleges at the time. And then in
Mm-hmm.
2002, I joined the Arcadia family, where
Yeah.
she was already a sociology professor, director of the Act 101 program, and you had been the founding director of what it became the Office of Multicultural Affairs, where I took the baton in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
She is my sister, not only in the work to protect and advocate for Black, Indigenous, people of color, and other students marginalized in education, but she is just my big sister friend, period. Dr. Loury, how you doing today?
I be just fine. I be just fine. And it's always interesting hearing yourself talked about.
Yes, yes,
So
indeed.
I say welcome to everyone that's listening, and we're gonna have some fun today.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, to get started, before we just dig into navigating and thriving in this current political climate, why don't you share just a little bit about your background and how you got started in this work?
Oh my goodness.
Mm.
I guess I've had so many wonderful iterations, and I've
Mhm.
been on the planet for 77 years. So
God
I've
bless you.
had all these iterations, but I never ever thought that I would end up teaching. That was
Mm,
not in my plan. I was a trainer,
mm,
and I love training, and an administrator at Temple University.
mhm,
And I remember so vividly sitting one night working too hard and watching professors go home.
mhm,
And I had a really good guy, a young white guy in the math department. And said one day, "How many days do you work?"
mm.
And then we talked about it. And he said, if you want to do this, you have to go get a PhD.
Right.
And I was like, I had just finished a master's at Lincoln. That was not on my agenda, and definitely not on my husband's agenda. Okay. Because he threatened to leave me when I did the master's. Because I couldn't think about anything. But again, it
Mm,
worked out. Went ahead and did the PhD in African American Studies at Temple.
mhm,
I actually started, which I don't think you even know, in another program. I actually had started out in a program um, that was called psychoeducational processes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which a lot of people were doing it at that time because it gave you a lot of a good background on a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I always took a course in African American studies for sanity, pure sanity, even if it was just an undergrad course. Because when I was there, when I was working there, we had no PhD program yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when I sat through class one day and was going, this is crazy. I don't like what I'm doing in this program. Let me figure out something else. I went over
Mm-hmm.
to Dr. Sante's office and in essence said, why do I need to try to get a PhD in African American studies? Am I going to be able to get a job? I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost 50 years old. In fact, I may have been 50. And he said, he opened up his drawer and all these applicants. I said, what is this? He said, people asking for my people,
Mm.
schools asking. I went ahead and finished.
Okay.
And I loved it. And then I had an opportunity to come to Arcadia
Mm-hmm.
on a part time job.
Okay.
Part-time job, that's what it was. While I was in the PhD program, and I did not want a full-time job, and I went there to talk about the being the director of Act 101, which was
Mm-hmm.
the Education Opportunity Program in Pennsylvania, done
Mm-hmm.
by K. Leroy Irvis.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being a wonderful, a 30-something year marriage.
Yes.
Uh, and I don't know if I would have been able to do some of the things I was able to accomplish at Arcadia. I truly became known as the crazy Black woman on campus. I was okay with that. I never sought tenure because I didn't want anybody to have power over me.
Mm.
And I said, well, you know what? I'll develop these courses. I will work on the Pan African Studies program. I developed that, which is now a major. It was
Yes.
a minor, now it's a major. So it gave me the Black Male Development Symposium.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure the community and the university, I made sure that the community knew they could come on that campus
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
doing some of the programming I did. So being an activist is something that's part of, part of what I have to pay to be on this planet, what Alice Walker
Mm-hmm.
talks about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured I was in a place that if I had any leverage, I was going to use it. And I was very much concerned and wanting to work with my Black and brown students.
Okay.
That was
Yes.
my primary deal. I got to stay here and help these kids, these young
Mm-hmm.
people. So
Mm.
that's kind of how I've always been in the work of being an activist, but Arcadia gave me a good platform.
Yes, yes, thank you. And a wonderful work and long, long history. I'm telling you, there's nobody on that campus that doesn't know your name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, and it was an honor to work and help create what became the Black Male Symposium together, lock arms, teaching classes, even to the point
Hmm.
where we made sure our classes lined up in
Yep.
timing so that we could really leverage our funds, right? Because we had first year seminars that had a little budget, and we would line them up so that we could leverage our funds and
Yeah.
take our students on experiences that help them thrive, right? You were focused on wait, what was your class? Like,
Words of WMD,
yeah,
words of
words of
mass
mass
destruction.
destruction, and I had reading between the rhymes.
Yep.
Yes, and so we partnered for several years
Yes.
to do that work until again passing on the baton to the to the next person. And I think Steve Tyson is teaching a similar course,
Yes,
but
he is.
and
Yes,
he
he
should
is.
be.
Exactly. Because Steve was my graduate assistant for 5 years.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yes.
Well, listen, let's dig into this topic today. So we're going to talk about Black women navigating and thriving in the current political climate. How does that help us elevate our humanity?
Well, what's interesting about the chaos that we're in right now, we told them
Mm-hmm.
Black women have always done that, though. We've always been the light or the education tunnel to
Mm.
letting people know you getting ready to step in some doo doo. and we're trying to make it so that you don't.
Mhm.
So how do we work together? Never about, I got this. It was always about a collaborative effort.
Mhm.
Right now, we are still, I'm in mourning. I tell people, I was in a call last night with the National Council of Negro Women. And I said, I realized that I'm in mourning. It took me a minute, but I said, oh, I know why you're feeling off. You are actually in mourning. And I'm in mourning for an idea, for what I did not think was going to happen. And
Mhm.
that's what the young woman said last night. She said, we were not prepared for this alternative.
Mhm.
So now having this alternative as Black women, what do we do? How do we react to it? Do
Mhm.
we react to it?
Okay.
How do we move through it? And that
Yeah.
has been the work that I've been trying to do by making sure I'm aligned with Black female headed organizations.
Okay. So let's talk about the alternative. What
Hmm.
what were you all talking about is the alternative?
When I say
Mhm.
alternative, I
Mhm.
meant the alternative that we did not think the election was going to turn out the way it was.
Okay, because
So
we weren't,
our
yep.
turn. So now we are living in that alternative universe,
Yes. Okay.
and it was a universe, and we should have known better, but we were not prepared for it.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
will give Donald Trump his props on this. He told us what he was going to do.
Yes. Mhm.
So
Yes.
now that we are in it,
Mhm.
how do we, I don't want to say deal with it, and I don't want to just say we're surviving. How do we thrive?
Yes.
How do we thrive? Because we've always survived. We have always survived. But
Mhm.
how do we thrive? And that thriving right now is what I'm involved in, how that looks
Okay. So talk
without
to
going
us.
to jail.
I hear that. I hear that.
All
So,
right, I have a line, and my daughter, Michelle, will tell you, my daughter knows where my bail money is.
okay.
Okay. So I tell everyone in this climate, you
Mhm.
better have some bail money sitting somewhere. I'm not saying you're
Mm.
going to be out there boycotting and running up and down the street. Things are happening to people in front of their homes. We
Yes.
had a story last night in
Mhm.
front of their homes. You could be picked up and taken to on a BS, as the kids say. Okay,
Mm.
so you need to make sure that you've got a lawyer. You need to make sure you've got funds somewhere. Yeah, I mean, there are
Mhm.
things that I don't know. A lot of people have never thought about having in place. You need to have in place now.
Mhm. And I don't know if you can share, I mean, without it telling anybody's business, what's happening in front of somebody's house? Like
Young lady said that her and her husband were taking groceries in the house, live
mhm.
in a predominantly white gated neighborhood.
Mhm.
A man that probably definitely had some mental health issues, white
Mm.
male, came over to them and identified himself as being a member of the Klan.
Oh, oh
Oh
my.
yes, oh yes,
Mhm.
and said, "You all don't need to be here. You all need to be not living here." And they tried to ignore him, but that didn't work. Then he wanted to put hands on him, on the husband, and then got in his car and drove away. But they were smart enough to call the police. Great police came in that township.
Mhm.
The guy came back. Now that's being brave.
Mm.
He came back. And when he came back, the police were waiting on him.
Very good. Very good.
So again, she says, in front of her home with her
Mm.
husband and her kids.
Mhm.
And again, I believe she said, I definitely believe mental health, but
Mhm.
he made sure he identified himself as a
Wow.
person that was a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's scary.
It is.
And
And I
and
have
and somebody who
another.
knows where you live.
Yes, yes, yes. Because again, there are probably one of maybe three Black families in that area. So people
Mm.
are riding through, seeing who's there.
Mhm. Mm.
Okay. Okay. And I always said, and I said to the group last night, I've lived through this. I could never be told at 27, thinking at 27 that I was still going to have to deal with this stuff F-77.
77.
It
Right.
really blows my mind. And I don't mean not to understand it. I knew racism was here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about how people feel emboldened now to
Right.
really not only speak their mind, but really, well, Ohio State University. I don't know if you saw what
Mm-hmm.
happened this morning in the last couple of
Mm-hmm.
my alma mater, my hometown, Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State, one of the top diversity programs in the U.S. in the Big Ten. All programming is now gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All program. They said that the scholarships, Moriel scholarship and some other scholarships, won't be. The students won't be affected. I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. And again, and I wondered why I was getting these calls from 614 this morning.
Hmm.
Not from my relatives, but from other people that I know in that area.
Right.
And I was like, oh, you're kidding. And I went online and there it was.
Mm.
There it
Yeah.
is. So it's
Yeah.
tough right now. It's disheartening. It's past disheartening. It's unsure, disheartening, whatever adjective, adverb you want to put on it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh the unsureness of it scares me. And
Mm.
that's why I'm saying people have to be prepared in all kinds of ways.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you. And so we're talking about, how do we thrive? We're like on the one hand, you're talking about people are personally being attacked.
Hmm.
Right. Yes. Whether the person who's attacking you has mental health issues or not, right? I guess what's even unfortunate is that because people have become emboldened around like direct and individual racism,
Hmm.
if they have mental health problems, it's exasperated,
Yes.
right? And that where it might have been socially, there was enough pressure not to, right, act on
Hmm.
it in the past, it is peeling away
Yes.
in a political climate that says, um, we should not pay special emphasis to groups of people who have
Hmm.
been left out, who have been pushed to the margins in the United States of America,
But
right?
also, I thought it was interesting they weren't crazy enough to say not make sure they mentioned that they were part of the Klan.
Right. Right. And the person may not be, right? Like if the
Yeah.
person has mental health issues, but they're saying, "Hey, I'm okay aligning that way."
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And people are okay. We know people are okay aligning to certain things
Hmm.
because of the outcome of the
Of the
election.
of the presidential election
Yeah.
in
So
the
we
US.
already know that. Now, what I think is getting ready, and maybe there's a shift that's happening. I don't know. I'm watching it really closely. That once it becomes evident that this is not going to be just a race or LGBTQ issues of all that's going on. A Magna person has already come on TikTok. Yes, I do TikTok. One
Hmm.
has come on TikTok and said, I had no idea my daughter was going to lose her job at the forestry department.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay,
Now
yep.
she's getting ready to hit home.
Hmm. Hmm. People losing
Okay.
jobs, yeah.
I'm a vet. I've got vets already saying I'm having a problem because my claim is still not happening. I'm having a problem because I'm worried about my check.
Hmm.
So it's getting ready to hit us all.
Yes.
And that's what I think is going to be very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, it feels reckless.
Hmm.
It just feels reckless. And the 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 aftermath of executive orders, decisions being made in the highest office of our country right now are leaving people across all walks of life,
Yep.
all income levels, all different statuses in uncertainty, right?
Distress.
And
They're in
distress.
distress.
And
Yes.
and what happens in chaos, right? You're if you are promoting create chaos. I don't think that's an accident. I think that's the intention of it,
Hmm.
right? Because and you know how I thought why I thought that, because there were several days when we were receiving news announcements that a certain, department in the government was in the federal government was being shut down or people were being laid off. And then a few hours later, oh, it was like, oh, my bad. No, they're back. They have their jobs. I was like, what is happening? Like, what?
Yeah. But this is their MO to, I think, distract and diffuse, and make
That's,
people. I mean, very much so that
yes.
we'll look up and God says it's going to be a golf course.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. It's like your attention is so focused on the
Yes.
chaos that, like, it makes me question what's really happening.
Yes. Yes.
What's
Yes.
really happening, because our attention is going to be on our livelihoods. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be on whether, with ICE raids, whether people should even go to work. I'm hearing of children in schools where I'm supporting teachers and developing teachers, that a parent is quit their job because they don't want to get
Yes.
picked up, right? They're here on a work visa, but they don't want to
Yes.
get picked up. So they quit a job. So now your family's down to one income
Yes.
because of fear. Everything goes back to fear,
Fear. Back to
right?
fear.
But you started this conversation talking about Black women being the light, being the educational
Mm,
uh, tunnel or funnel. I'm sorry,
tunnel bingo.
funnels, right? For how we work together. So I'm curious about the practical steps or the practical strategies you would recommend to Black women, among all humans, right? It's
Hmm.
probably going to help all humans, but the
Yes.
practical steps people can take to prioritize their well being and continue to thrive. I heard you first say, listen, be prepared legally in ways you haven't
Yes.
before, right? Have a lawyer,
Hmm.
have bail money.
Yeah. Yes.
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 What are some other steps or strategies we need to put in our tool in our tool belts?
Uh, and this has become real helpful for me.
Hmm.
Um, you've got to get your tribe. I really have come to, and it can be. I was on the call the other night with the Divine Nine.
Hmm.
It was a phenomenal call.
Hmm.
Okay. Because everybody's got to watch their 501 status.
Hmm.
But oh, some of the wonderful and unique strategies of, that you can and cannot do. And how do we support these by, these income pieces and the
Hmm.
DEI pieces? So that was one way for me to be with one set of my tribe.
Hmm.
Then I have another set with the National Council of Negro Women. And I think having being able to be in the presence of groups of like-minded women
Hmm.
have been very helpful to me because we cried last night and we talked,
Hmm.
and we had not done that since the election because we were
Hmm.
so focused on the work that we finally said, you know what, we got to talk.
Yeah.
We got to talk.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So making sure, and then I have another just group of women that when something's on, I'm making sure they get the information. We're on texting. They'll be
Hmm.
like, Doreen, stop texting, stop texting. But I will say, no, here's a link. You need to look at this. You
Hmm.
need to know this is going on. What are we doing now? How do we move this now? All right.
Hmm.
That beautiful granddaughter of mine in her last 6 weeks of Howard Law School.
Hmm.
Okay. I have been talking to her because she is only 24 years old,
Hmm.
25. There's a different mindset there, and I need to
Yes.
hear it.
Yes.
So look at things intergenerationally.
Hmm.
Okay. What I'm thinking at 27 is not the same as his 24 and 25-year-old is looking at.
That's right.
So making sure I keep up But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I do know how to tune out. So
Okay.
sometimes you have to tune out
Yes.
and tune out. Like I got up this morning, I did my walk. Okay, the sun fooled me. It was a little chilly. Okay, the sun fooled, but I didn't care. I needed that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I did? It was so funny. I have a routine when I walk. So I do my walk, get back in my car. It's right over here on Old York Road, and I go to Panera's. And I had to go, oh, shoot, I cannot go to Panera's.
Mm-hmm.
I have to figure out, hang on 1 minute, somewhere else to go.
Okay.
And I give it back in my car,
Oh, right.
and I said, go home and make your own damn coffee. Okay. It was that simple. It
Yeah.
was that simple. And I put it on the one group chat I did, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone said, I'm so glad you reminded me. I was on my
Mm-hmm.
way to Starbucks. Because, because again, we live in routine. Even
Yes.
retired folks, we have a little routine
Uh,
going.
Right.
So again, having people that keep you honest
Mm-hmm.
and are willing to talk to you and say, Doreen, I don't know if that's going to work. Oh, Doreen, let's figure out another way to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, and again, being plugged in, but understanding how to plug out, unplug.
To unplug. Yeah. So now
Yes.
I have 7 strategies. I
Okay.
have, yes. First, bail money, legal support, really lean on your support circles. You had 3 of them, right? One
Mm-hmm.
was national across the Divine Nine. For those who don't know, there is a set of 9 sororities and fraternities
Mm-hmm.
established in the United States, and that were founded by Black women, Black men
Yep.
in the early 1900s. And all of them, despite what people, they focus on sororities and fraternities, and divisions between them. But the bottom line is all of the Divine Nine have been focused on service,
Mm-hmm.
on sisterhood, on brotherhood, and across, like the sororities have kind of like their brother fraternities, some
Yep.
officially and some unofficially. And
Unofficially. Yep.
yes, and I know, having been a Delta for 37 years, that, I have sisters in AKA, in Zeta Phi Beta, right? Yes, in all of the Divine Nine. So because we are about the same thing, elevating our communities and taking care of one another.
Another.
And you
Yes.
mentioned 3 different groups, right? Like, so you said you have that national group. You are involved, well, you're involved with the national, um, is it
Council of
coalition?
Negro Women.
Council. I want to keep saying coalition. The National Council of Negro Women is national as well, but you have a local group
Yes.
as well. And you have other smaller groups of like-minded women that you surround yourself
Yes.
with.
And men. And
Yes,
men.
and men. Okay. And so, understand that. And what I heard you say was, listen, these groups are nonprofits, and we know that nonprofits are being affected by
Yes.
decisions being made at the federal level. So we got together and put our heads together. That's what we have
Mm-hmm.
to do. I belong to
Yes.
another group. Um, Here locally in Philadelphia that involves chief executive officers of nonprofits, same thing, right? That group is coming together to say, hey, how do we support one another, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
learn from one another. And that leads to another thing you said was basically share knowledge. So you do that
Mm-hmm.
in those support circles and outside of it,
Yes.
and tap into number 5 I wrote down was tap into your intergenerational wealth.
Mm-hmm. All the Gen X, Gen Zs, YMs, whatever.
Tap into it,
Tap
right?
into them.
And learn to tune in and tune out.
Yes, yes. However you choose to unplug and
Mm-hmm.
figure that out. I'm getting ready to start. It's been so good with the retirement. I get a chance now to read some fiction
Okay.
because I didn't get a chance to read fiction when I was teaching. Really, not
Right.
really, really.
Right.
And so I'm picking up a couple of pieces. I picked up James Baldwin the other day in my. 'Cause I have a huge library. I have a huge
Mm-hmm.
library,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and I tell people if you haven't started that library, start that library.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Start that library because you need to be able to walk. I can walk in this room and pick up a book.
Mm-hmm.
Then my daughter says I see books all over the house. I said depends on the mood I'm in, and I may pick up Baldwin one minute, Audre Lorde another minute.
Mm-hmm.
Miseducation of the Negro is by my bedside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I
Mm-hmm.
started reading Judgment at Nuremberg the other day.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it's scary
Mm-hmm.
what's in there.
That's right.
And it talks exactly about what's going on now.
Right now. Yes.
Right now. And
Yes.
I even have the Turner Diaries. I even have the
Mm-hmm.
Turner Diaries. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I bought it in Chicago, I was embarrassed, but I bought it.
Okay.
Because I said I need to know what a race war is going to look like,
That's right.
what they think it's going to look like.
Yes. And
So you
yes.
can't just read the stuff. You got to read a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yes, you do. One of my greatest educations, in addition to my African American literature and from, scholars and poet laureates in the African American community, one of my greatest educations was the Holocaust education.
Yes.
This is for a time like this,
Yes.
people, well-meaning people,
Hmm.
neighbors were turned on
Yes.
their neighbors,
Yes.
some out of fear,
Hmm.
and they were groomed by propaganda. And that's what's
Yes.
happening. That's what the anti-DEI movement is. It's a propaganda movement.
Propaganda.
Hmm.
And what is so interesting, part of a discussion I had with young white DEI person just a couple of days ago, they did not understand that DEI was a federal mandate in the back. That's how it got to be. They
Mm,
were like, well, no. I said, no, no. You think this was a moral thing that someone said we should be doing? Oh, please,
right.
hell no. Okay. I said
Interesting.
it was a federal mandate.
Right.
So now she said, well, he said, so they're actually trying now to take away a federal mandate to put another mandate in to stop it. I
Right.
said, now I need you to think about that kind of craziness.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
need you to think about that. And
Yeah.
they did, and a lot of people don't know that. They really do. They think again, it was just something that, we need to do better and this is how we
Right.
do it, and we're
Right.
just going to do it. No, 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 no.
Right. Well, it was a is a federal mandate and had to be in order to be enforceable, right?
Yes,
Because unfortunately, people aren't going to necessarily do better.
they're not. They're not. And I
Hmm.
guess that now they're seeing as what is the reward of trying to do better.
Mm.
Now, we
Mm.
know what it is. And I have been sitting in situations where people want to keep business as usual. And I've had to sit there and go, but do you understand that it's not business as usual? So you can sit here and tell me about all these wonderful grants
Mhm.
and how we're going to be doing this to help these folks. So a couple nonprofits I belong to. I said those days are gone.
Right.
They're gone. You've got to start thinking about funds from another way, the
Right.
grant that you already have. You
Right.
you think you got 2 more years on it, that may not happen. Oh, but it's a
Mhm.
contract. I said, oh, so y'all ain't never really been in a depression. And
Mm.
neither have I, but I know what depression feels like.
Right. Right.
So people are having to, their sensibilities are being shaken,
Mhm.
and they're not, I don't want them to wait till it's too late.
That's right. And while you weren't in the depression, you would have been the child of people who did live through it,
Oh
correct?
God, yeah. My
Yes.
mother took joy, divided it in three containers to make sure that one was for taking a bath,
Mm.
one was for washing the dishes, and one
Mm-hmm.
was for washing our hair.
Mm-hmm.
And we were quote unquote middle class.
Right.
But that depression mentality
Mm-hmm.
said that joy
Mm-hmm.
was something that you could use and dilute for all kinds of
The
stuff.
thing, right, exactly. Right. But where pricing skyrocketed for food in the US in general, and now we have
Yeah,
issues because of bird flu, et cetera, just having
yeah.
AIDS, eggs, which is something that's is a staple in our diets.
$7.99 for
People
eggs.
listen,
$7.99 for a carton of eggs.
and there are people who don't even make that in an hour.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And you know what's so interesting? My daughter and I were talking. She called, asked me. She always checks on me. You know, when you get older, your kids make. If you raise your kids right, okay. Because I mean that because I've seen people having their kids not checking on. She said, "Yeah, what are you eating tonight?" I said, "Oh, I made an omelet with cheese and a scallion." She said, "An omelet." I said, "Honey, eggs have become dinner."
It costs so much, right?
It costs so much. I'm like, well, I was like, well, why don't I make a nice omelet,
Mm-hmm.
with a
Mm-hmm.
salad? And
Mm-hmm.
that can be, and I mean, I'm laughing, but it's real. It's so
Mm-hmm.
real. Because I went to buy a steak and I went, oh, no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
even
no.
worse.
You know.
Yeah,
So
that's even
again,
worse.
we're going to have to learn not only to sacrifice and live differently, but to
Mhm.
understand the necessity of that in order for us to come out on the other end.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, what is some final advice you would give to our listeners? They want to improve as anti-racist, as culturally competent, as inclusive. What final advice would you give to them?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I am sure that most of us are already there with being anti-racist. It's not that we don't want to be.
Hmm.
We are told now that is not where we are.
Mm.
So it's almost like all this wonderful training, education, all this good stuff, all the good contracts. Okay. I got one call for Black History Month, even though I quit doing stuff for Black History Month. But I've always had, at least 10 to 15 calls to
Hmm.
come and do something. And that did not happen this time.
Hmm.
Okay, now part of it, they know that I'm not coming because I said, you can't bring me in March. But
Right.
again, campuses are doing things very differently now.
Hmm.
So I really say to people, it's keep reading and watching. Uh, I'm gathering material. I know all you young people believe in putting the folder in the computer, but when that computer falls, I've got my binder. Okay. You know how
Yes.
I am with my binders, Rochelle. You
Is
know
it?
how I am.
Yes.
Okay. I've got my binders. Okay.
Hmm. Yes.
So but keep information handy.
Mm. Okay.
Keep updated on information because that cycle changes. And I've had people say, I'm tired of listening to it. I know you are.
Mm.
But to be uninformed
Right.
is scary.
Hmm.
Do not be uninformed. Know
Yes.
what's going on. Play around on do some alternative media.
Mm.
Roland Martin, other kinds of media. But
Hmm.
also look and see what that damn Fox is saying.
Yeah.
I used to teach media, and
Hmm.
that one of the jokes was I could tell you what was his name? Rush Limbaugh said, as
Hmm.
well as what Chris Cuomo said, and
Right.
Don Lemon. I could tell you that because I looked at everything.
Right. Well, and that's a informed person. That's a critical thinking person, right? We need to know we when we just feed what we already believe, we're not
Yes.
growing.
That's it. And I'm all about I'm about growing, but I also want to grow so I can pass information on to other
On,
people.
that's right. And you're an educator, and we have to say, yeah, everybody's not an educator. So
Yeah.
we're thinking about the multitude of perspectives out there, right? It
Yes.
is not fair to our students to just give them one side,
Mm-mm, no.
right?
And one of the best places for information, people are going to laugh, is I am a person that I am the person in the beauty parlor who was
Mhm.
holding court.
Okay.
Okay. Because I know they always say, what you bring today? I take them articles, I leave them on the front.
Okay.
Okay. I've got brothers in barbershops that I go to and talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I know not everybody is in college or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I am always about, okay, this is good about black men and businesses. Let me take this up to Pretty Boys, the
Right.
barbershop up the street.
Right.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
again, join, social media sites you would not normally join.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it is about consuming information. I know we get tired of people say, listen, I'm trying to buy those eggs to get to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but you need to still, at this time in this time in our lives, we need to know all that's out there so that we are ready for that storm. When it
That's
rains,
right.
I gotta have more than galoshes and an umbrella. I gotta
Yes.
have a real raincoat.
Yes. And one thing that we don't talk enough a lot, especially in open spaces, right? It's one of those like conversations not for mixed company. But one of the things that we
Yep.
don't talk about is how we, and I will say, within the Black community, we have to be mindful of the variations of us in our
Yes,
community.
yes, yes,
Just like if I were talking to anybody of any race, any ethnicity, culture, um, who is middle class, who is, affluent, we have to understand no matter where we started, right? Like what social class we were born into, we have to
hmm
remember that it's so easy to get into a blame game. Like it
yes,
breaks my heart every time I hear somebody talk about the families of children in our schools, like something's
yes.
wrong with them. It's heartbreaking.
It is.
So, and I know it's a thing that we do. Like and I'm not so I'm sure a psychologist could tell us more about why so many people are prone to doing that.
Hmm.
But the reality is when you think about these seven things that you talked about, right? Finding a support circle, it's going to be hard for some people to find support in you or for you to
Hmm.
find support in others, especially across socioeconomic lines. If we have elitist, uh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
perspectives about our people,
And that's
right?
why we have to step into places that we're uncomfortable with,
Yes,
which is why I make sure that I'm connected to the nonprofit world.
yes,
Okay,
exactly.
and places
Hmm.
I'm very much.
Hmm.
I think the organization you were with is that Kelly.
Yes, Kelly Whitland
One day I'm
is
going to
with
show
us.
you the concept paper that 15 years ago we wrote for this organization.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so
Hmm.
again, it's about being in being willing to be in uncomfortable places. I don't
Yes.
walk into spaces as Dr. Lowry. I walk in spaces as Doreen.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
because that don't mean a damn thing to somebody that's trying to see about getting their kids into school, getting food and all that.
That's
I'm
right.
going in there as Doreen.
Hmm.
Okay. So I think that you're right with that elitist piece. We do have to, and I get why the boys did. I mean, I get all that. I get all that. Because we were trying to show the world who we were and that we weren't, we were just as good as, if not better.
Hmm.
I
You're talking
get
about the
all
talented 10th. Yes.
the challenge. I get it.
And
I get it. But see, I always thought I was better, so I didn't really worry about it.
right. Like yeah, some of the messaging that we had to hear, and it
Yes,
was for a particular time, we had to know our worth did not
yes,
come from how other people treated us and how
yeah.
they perceived us. Yes, Yes, I
We
understand that.
understand it. We understand. We understand.
Yes, is today people are blindly like it's. I feel like it's in a blind spot, right?
Yes,
For a lot of
yes.
people who like some people are not really helping the plight for the overall community
Yeah,
when we disparage members
yeah,
of the community based on their circumstance, right? Like
yeah.
a circumstance that really, there are other forces that are becoming real plain in plain
Hmm.
sight now.
Yeah, oh yeah. And
But
but for the grace of God.
yes,
But for the grace of God. Okay.
yes,
And I think that's the other part of it because they know they're only one paycheck away
mm-hmm,
and one mortgage payment away.
mm-hmm,
So again, and I get it, people are fighting for their survival on all levels, on all
yes,
levels. But
mm-hmm,
now that survival's got to be, we've got to be more collaborative.
yes, and
Or we're not gonna make
expansive.
it.
And expansive.
And expansive, exactly, exactly.
Yes, that people without the degrees actually probably have some knowledge that you really need to gain.
Yes.
I think about the fact that I'm not street identified, right? But
Hmm.
somebody's gonna have to teach me how to survive
Yes,
on the street.
yes. But that's where
Like
that
in these streets.
intergenerational. Get some of
Yes.
these young brothers. That's Imhotep is close to my heart, and
Hmm.
my daughter. I'm constantly up there listening to the young brothers, talking
That's
to
right.
them, because
Yes.
again, I know what's going on.
Hmm.
With them and what they're not. Looking at me saying, Miss Doreen. And I'm like, I'm willing to sit on the floor and talk to them.
That's right.
Okay, and
That's
say,
right.
I said, you got to school me. I need to know why you got three babies. I just need to
Okay.
know. You got to talk to me about this. Okay.
Right.
And we have that conversation.
Right. Right. And but there are also like certain circles that people aren't going to be in if they're not in the kinds of circles we're in, right? Like so
Yep.
so what I mean is, say for example, we're educators, so we're among educators, we've been on college campuses where people are wrestling with these, some of
Hmm.
the issues around systemic barriers, etc.,
Yep.
all the time. What we have to remember is that there are those among us struggling in it in everyday life in ways
Yeah.
that we no longer are or never did. And
Exactly.
they're not,
Exactly.
and they may not have time
Yeah.
to be sitting down having those conversations. So,
Exactly.
right. And well, in their minds, right, not having those, the time to do it, but also not, the tools, right? So,
Yes.
if we don't ever come together though, right? Like I don't want to be off to the side having those conversations with you and I don't have that conversation with my sister, my cousin, my whoever, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because the
Um
front room and the dinner table are the best places in the world. Okay.
yes.
One of the best lines I heard was a young man said in my class once. He said, I learned racism at my kitchen table with my
Mm,
parents.
mm,
And he
mm.
was very upfront with it. He knew. He said,
Yes.
I know where I learned this stuff.
Wow.
Okay, and if you watch
Mhm.
American History X, that's
Yes.
exactly what it shows. That's where they
Yeah.
learned about being with just even a remark that you wouldn't even think was, harmful.
Mhm.
Those Puerto Ricans, those black people on
Yes.
welfare. Well, that's
Right.
there. It's already in your mind. It's already in your
Yes,
mind.
exactly.
It's good
Yes.
stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you. Well, Dr. Lowry, Doreen, I can't thank you enough. This has been wonderful. I
Yes, it has.
enjoyed this conversation as all of our conversations are lively like this. How can people reach you after this episode? Is there some way on social media that they can reach you?
I'm a
What?
Facebook lady, and
Okay.
I'm also on Instagram, Sister
Okay.
Doctor,
All
Sister
right.
Doctor.
So
Okay,
that's SISTA
DOCTA,
DOCTA,
Sister
sister
Doctor.
Right, doctor.
Sister Doctor, and definitely on Facebook.
And
Definitely
on
on Facebook.
Facebook.
I know old
Yes.
people, we still like Facebook. Okay.
Yes. Yes. And so
You
the
know, we
spelling
still
this
like it.
yes, and so
And
the spelling
LinkedIn, and LinkedIn. I'm
oh,
on
okay.
LinkedIn as well. I'm on
Gotcha.
LinkedIn as well.
And the spelling of your name will be and the spelling of those that social media will be in the show notes. Well, again and again and again, I can't thank you enough.
It was a
Um,
wonderful Friday way to spend a Friday
Friday.
afternoon.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So rooted to thrive tribe. Thank you for being
Yeah, right
here.
there, heart. Take care, and everyone have a great weekend. And remember, that we've got to just keep on making sure. What is it? We got to Chicken Little. We go, the sky is falling, but we got to still keep looking up.
Yes, we got to keep looking up. And thank you, everyone who's listening and being willing to grow and thrive together. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and share this episode. And thank you for listening to Rooted to Thrive.